1991, Operation Desert Storm was meant to be a swift, clean war to liberate Kuwait. But Saddam Hussein had a secret weapon that threatened to shatter the entire Allied coalition, the Scudi missile. These were modified Soviet ballistic missiles, launched from mobile platforms and carrying non-conventional warheads. The Scuds were not a major military threat to the U.S. forces in Saudi Arabia. They were a political bomb. Saddam was using them to target Israel. Every time a Scud landed in Tel Aviv, the pressure mounted for Israel to retaliate. If Israel entered the war, the fragile Arab coalition supporting the Allies would instantly collapse, turning Desert Storm into an unwinnable regional conflict. The mission was simple, but suicidal. Find and destroy the mobile Scud launchers hiding in the vast western Iraqi desert. Since American satellite intelligence couldn't consistently track the highly mobile launchers, the job fell to the only force capable of operating deep behind enemy lines. The British Special Air Service, ASAS. Their mission, known as Operation Bravo 20, was to insert small, 4 to 8-man patrols into the desert, expose themselves to extreme danger, and act as forward observers. The stakes were nothing less than the entire global coalition. The story of the Scud Hunters is not one of flawless heroism. It is one of operational failure, devastating chance, and human endurance. The most famous and most tragic of these SAS patrols was Bravo 20. The 8-man team, inserted deep into enemy territory, immediately ran into trouble. The conditions were absolute hell: extreme cold at night, scorching heat by day, zero cover, and a critical lack of water. Within hours of insertion, their main communication system failed. They were, quite literally, invisible and alone. Then came the disaster. The patrol was unexpectedly compromised, perhaps by local Bedouins or chance contact with an Iraqi patrol. A massive firefight erupted. The SAS men realized they were fighting not just for their mission, but for their very lives. Their planned rendezvous was unreachable. Their equipment was failing. They were forced to abandon their vehicles and begin an impossible, desperate escape on foot across the featureless desert, carrying only what they could manage. The subsequent chase and capture were a nightmare. Due to equipment failure, exhaustion, and overwhelming Iraqi forces, the patrol was broken. 3 men were killed, 1 died of hypothermia, and 4 were captured, including Sergeant Andy McNabb and Sergeant Chris Ryan. This was a catastrophic failure, exposing the brutal truth that even the most elite forces are entirely subject to the chaos and chance of war. Of the 4 men captured, the suffering was immense. The captured SAS soldiers were brutally tortured by the Iraqi intelligence service, starved, and subjected to mock executions. Their story reveals the chilling, unedited reality of military capture, a physical and psychological hell rarely shown in film. But one man, Chris Ryan, accomplished one of the greatest long-distance escapes in military history. Over the course of 7 days, injured, malnourished, and delusional, he walked over 175 miles through the enemy-held desert toward the Syrian border, consuming nothing but small amounts of water and surviving on sheer willpower. His escape was not a glorious sprint. It was a slow, agonizing crawl through dehydration and fear. He survived where his comrades perished. Meanwhile, the Scudi hunt continued. Other, less publicized SAS teams, using different tactics and better luck, successfully directed airstrikes onto the mobile launchers. It was the collective effort, often carried out in silent, successful anonymity, that ultimately neutralized the Scudi threat and prevented Israel from entering the conflict. The mission was a strategic success, but its human cost remains defined by the tragedy of Bravo 20. The SAS Scudi Hunter mission defined the future of warfare. It proved the necessity of small, highly adaptable teams acting as precision guides in vast, hostile environments. It pioneered the technology and tactics that are now standard for modern special forces around the globe. But the final legacy of Bravo 20 is one of deep controversy. The stories of the survivors are fraught with disagreement over command decisions, tactical errors, and the true cause of the mission's initial compromise. It is a reminder that in the high-stakes world of special operations, the difference between heroism and disaster can be as simple as a faulty radio battery or a wrong turn in the dark. The men who hunted the Sekuds were not fighting tanks or aircraft. They were fighting the terrain, the isolation, and the brutal calculus of a global political crisis. They risked everything to prevent the war from expanding, and their story remains the clearest, most uncut example of modern elite warfare's terrifying price. This has been War Stories Uncut. The desert holds its secrets well. Subscribe now and hit the bell. Next time, we dive into the true cost of modern conflict, the unseen mental scars of the global war on terror.